Just before the 23rd August 2023 elections, quite a name has been doing rounds, and at some point it would go viral on social media. The name that I'm talking about is FAZ. In short, everywhere you go, it was FAZ, FAZ, FAZ. Everything that you would hear about it, negative or positive, it was about FAZ, depending on where you are coming from. Also, when the observers came and observed the elections, in their preliminary reports, the name FAZ also featured prominently. And to some, they've been asking, who is FAZ? What kind of an animal is FAZ? Where can we find FAZ? And guess what? We have found the boss, the man who is behind this organization. We are here to talk about it, to find out what is it exactly about this organization. As you know, this is SlyMedia TV online, and thank you very much for supporting us, and thank you for believing in us, and for you not to miss any of this informative program. What you have to do is just to click that follow or like button, so that every time we go live on air, you will also get a notification that this is what is happening. And also, if you can't find us on Sly Media, we are also live streaming on other social media platforms such as Site or Zim-I or 263 Chat. We are also live on those platforms as well. And also remember to subscribe on our YouTube channel, Sly Media Productions. My name is Robert Tafmani. Let's get into the business of the day. Boss Kuda. How are you?
Very well.
Final.
Thank you very much, Sly Media. Greetings, Zimbabweans and Africa at large.
Yes. You know, as I have said, you know, the name FAZ, you know, just in brief, boss, from you, what is FAZ?
FAZ is actually the shortcut for Forever Associate Zimbabwe Trust, derived from the sense that we will continue to operate forever as associates. FAZ is basically a registered trust, and it also had a wing for business, that is Forever Associates Zimbabwe Private Limited, meant to explore business opportunities around this country. FAZ as a trust is the one that currently has been making noise, and of course, after elections now, the private limited will make even more noise, but it will be more noise on the economic front. But talking about the FAZ Trust, we actually founded it way back in 2010, as we were students at a university. We struggled to make ends meet. We struggled to get finances. We continued, though, to try and explore finances that would finance the trust. The trust basically is to explore business opportunities, to participate towards His Excellency's Vision 2030. But however, we also realized that as a trust, we needed a political party that can allow us to advance our business interest. As such, we aligned ourselves with the ZANU PF party. We then applied to be an affiliate of ZANU PF. So as we speak, we are an affiliate of ZANU PF, a child of ZANU PF. Our mandate within ZANU PF is to make sure that we campaign for ZANU PF in any elections. May it be elections to come, and we also campaigned for elections that ended. And as we were campaigning, we were using certain strategies that perhaps we'll discuss at a later stage, but we campaigned for ZANU PF. We also assisted, as you are aware, in running their primary elections, and a number of responsibilities that were put upon us due to our large network across the country.
Quite interesting. So how does one become a member of FAZ? You know, from what you've told me, it was founded in 2010, you know, basically as students, but now it is grown bigger. How does one become a member?
Because we are now an affiliate of ZANU PF. The prerequisite for one to join FAZ is for one to be a member of ZANU PF.
Okay.
That is the prerequisite for one to join FAZ. We are basically a youth organization, but now which also incorporates the adult age, because in all our programs, more than 60% is youth, and then the other 40% we also leave it for the old, even the women. The other 40%. So across the country, people are free to visit our website and be able to join FAZ, and or even visit our office where you are, and visit 224 Avenues here in Avondale and be able to be a member of FAZ. But at the present moment, we recruited what we call volunteers across the country. These volunteers, we currently have about 20 per constituency. That sums to about 4,200 members across the country is our volunteers. But we are going to grow our base because the strategy is to make sure that we have as many youth coming together to penetrate the economic opportunities available in this country.
Yeah, but why then would you, as a youthful organization, growing bigger, did you say, let's associate ourselves with the ruling party, ZANU PF?
It's about the ideology. It's about the ideology. As you are aware that there are a number of NGOs that have been anti-government, NGOs that have been pushing for regime change in this country. The ERC, the Pachelu, you name them, they are quite a number. We have been pushing for regime change. But we said, no, we are patriotic young people in Zimbabwe. We want regime continuity. As such, we felt the policies of ZANU PF, the ideology, Gwara Reguta Rujinji of ZANU PF, is what we would want to align, is what can take this nation forward, not the policies that are coming from Western countries. They will not take us. So we believe in the Edom Nyika, that's why we then say, no, this is the party to affiliate with.
But is there anything wrong with Zimbabweans having a regime change in their country?
Yes, there is everything wrong about that, because what we have noticed is that the neo-colonialism agenda is actually coming fast and thick in Africa. We are seeing that the Western countries are coming to recolonize Africa. They are coming in so many ways to recolonize Africa. They are coming in with so many strategies to recolonize Africa. And the West now, they are not using the white skin. They are now using our brothers and sisters in Africa that are coming to colonize Africa. So as such, there is everything wrong with the regime change. We don't even need regime change at the present moment. We want the freedom that was brought by our freedom fighters. We don't want to be taken aback to the yesteryears where Western countries, where British are coming to dominate the economic opportunities of this country. No, we are saying no to that era. We want, as our local people, the young people, to build our own nation. That's what we want as FAZ.
But there's also a school of thought that even those that are coming from the East, particularly the Chinese, they are also recolonizing Africa and particularly Zimbabwe. The same way that you are saying you don't want the Western country to do that.
Really, it's one person who would want to stand up and say that. But in actual fact, when China is investing, depends with the policies that you set up. This country has got the best policies you find in Africa. China never colonized Zimbabwe. We're actually benefiting from what they are bringing to us. They are not here to rule us. They are not here to dictate what we should do as Zimbabweans. They are here solely for business, which is what we want. If, for example, we now have power right now. Unit 6 and 7 Wange was refurbished by $2.5 billion that came from China. Could we say that is colonization? No, that's not. They are coming in to assist us to achieve what we want, because what is important for economic development is investment, which we may not have all the resources in Zimbabwe. So at a certain time, we rely on external funding. So China has come here and they are assisting us, even where they are creating a lot of industries. They are coming in and dancing to the policies that are set up by this government, policies that are protecting Zimbabweans. So they are not colonizing us.
Coming back to the elections, let's start with ZANU PF primary elections. That's when obviously the name FAZ featured prominently as well. You were accused, you know, of disrupting the ZANU PF primary elections, and to a certain extent imposing some of the candidates within that political part.
Yes. Basically, when it comes to primary elections, we did nothing wrong. It's just that people have painted us to be some Frankenstein monster, you see, as FAZ. What we did our job excellently well. I think that has been also reflected by the outcome of the general elections. That we did nothing wrong. We went there and conducted primary elections peacefully, fairly, and transparently. We did not have any side to take. The winners won. Those who lost was lost. But what you also need to understand is that in any context, there is always a winner and a loser will always cry foul. They always come up with so many scores of, you know, theorems, etc. That's what has been happening. But the truth is that we did what we could under the circumstances in running ZANU PF primary elections. I know very well that perhaps here and there are certain areas that maybe we may have slumbered as an organization. There is no perfect election. Even ZEC itself, even Americans, they don't run perfect elections. Yes, we might have made mistakes here and there, but we didn't have a side, we didn't have candidates. We were trying to have the people express what they want, who they want. That is the whole duty of a democratic process. That's what we did. So as far as FAZ is concerned, we did our job extremely well. But yes, there are certain comrades, even up to now, when we meet them, they are crying, they are saying, FAZ did this, FAZ did that. But well, the primary elections went very well as far as we are concerned.
But ZANU PF has been having primary elections without FAZ. You know, why then would you now come in this time around, you know, to assist ZANU PF when they've been having those elections perfectly well as well? You know, with obviously losers complaining. Why then would FAZ come in to assist ZANU PF to run their primary elections?
Firstly, we can't say they've been doing them perfectly well. They've been doing them well, yes, but we cannot then say they've been doing them perfectly well. Perhaps that is the reason why they then decided to engage an affiliate to be able to assist them, so that they remove the burden upon their structures to run the elections. Remember, the elections have been run by ZANU PF structures. So that brings a lot of conflict within the organization because so many interested parties. So I think they saw it befitting that they invite an affiliate, an independent organization to come and run elections. I don't think there's anything wrong with what was happening in the past. But, you know, when you in a democratic space, you move a step further. That's what they did.
And during that time, you know, after the outcome of the ZANU PF primary elections, that when also word started going around that FAZ is linked to the Central Intelligence Organization, CIO, and to a certain extent to the Army as well. What is your position on that? I'm
actually very much surprised and amazed as to where they get such allegations. We have tried to dismiss them with the highest content they deserve, because as far as we are concerned, we are just an innocent, you know, organization that is run by civilians. We are not in any way linked to the CIO. I repeat, we are not in any way linked to the Army, neither are we linked to the police. We are not linked to any of those institutions. Even in terms of our recruitment, we never even recruited anyone from government as a whole, not just to say the secretariat, but from government. We don't even have teachers. We don't even have nurses. We picked people from the community who are ZANU PF members around the country. So we are not linked to any of those institutions. At times I sit down and wonder and try to see where exactly did we link to the CIO that would make people think that we are CIO. I haven't seen anything. So I've just realized that it is a creation of the West, it is creation of the opposition trying to tarnish the image of FAZ and trying to send a certain narrative so that people would want to fear FAZ, make it a monster, and think that there is a lot of security involved. No, we are not.
So still on that, looking at some media reports, is there the link between Walter Tafumani and FAZ?
No, there is absolutely no link. Perhaps what we did when we started the organization, I'm glad you also said Tafumani. So you'll be linked. So when we started the organization, we actually had his son back then. Unfortunately, at a later stage, he then pursued other avenues and left the organization. That is the only linkage that would actually come. But otherwise, he's not in any way linked to this organization. He hasn't done anything as far as assisting this organization is concerned. Perhaps maybe they are taking it from there. Other than that, I don't see any reason why they should link him to this organization.
Coming to the general elections now, what was the role of FAZ in the just ended harmonized elections? The
role of FAZ was clearly and articulately set that we are campaigning for ZANU PF. So campaigning for ZANU PF entails coming up with the strategies that will make ZANU PF win the election. So we were campaigning using a strategy that we call intimate voter contact strategy. That strategy focused mainly on door-to-door campaigns, where we were, one would want to say, the watchtower strategy, where we were going door-to-door, talking to people. That's what we were doing on behalf of ZANU PF. We were also involved in the areas of distribution of, say, for example, presidential inputs, grain, etc. We were involved just to monitor, to make sure that sanity prevails, because we know those are the areas that actually affect the victory for ZANU PF when there's unfair distribution of everything. So we were there as well. But on the other end, we had an arm that people are not talking about, which is the social where we have been assisting a lot. If you see a lot of people whose houses were demolished by fire or political violence, we've been there and assisting. If you realize there have been accidents across the country, we've been there, we've been assisting those accidents. I'm sure you have seen even the media when I went to Binga in an accident that was that happened in Binga, where I donated $1,000 for each family from FAZ. We have also been doing awareness for drug awareness campaigns around the country. You know, a number of charity work that we also did, you know, towards the harmonized election as a way also of campaigning for ZANU PF. So our role was to campaign for ZANU PF, and we did just that.
On the strategies that you mentioned, Koda, which is one of them, let's pick one of them, which is of door-to-door campaign.
Yes.
What was the message? Because then that's where the issue of your members, if that is there, intimidated the voters to vote for ZANU PF. When they were doing door-to-door campaign, what was the message to the electorate so that they can make a decision on their own without fear or after being intimidated?
You know, in all honesty, cases of intimidation are just, those are just pessimistic matrices by the opposition, meant to create a certain wrong narrative based on what I call a loser's limp. We never ever intimidated anyone when we were going around. What our people moved with was the weapon, which is what ED had done in the past 5 years. We armed them with the programs, the projects, the achievements of the Second Republic ever since its inception. That is the tool that they went with door to door. And they never even preached violence, because we are not a violent organization. They never even preached intimidation language. They were talking to people, convincing people to vote for ZANU PF. Hence, you'd see even the improved results, because people were told what is. Why would they intimidate when the president has achieved so much? They just tell
actually,
them
that
what
question is your question. Why would FAZ intimidate the voters when they, when you, as you are saying, the president has done so much for the last 5 years, instead of just selling that?
No, give me incidences so that at least we can talk.
I'm talking from what they have said.
You see
the other side.
Yes, that is hearsay, which is a lie, because we can sit here and debate based on narratives that are created by the opposition. Because remember, they are also campaigning, so they are bound also to create narratives. I can actually tell you that opposition was intimidating people. I can tell you in my constituency, the opposition MP, you know, he has got a docket right now within the police, where he went villages where he realized he was losing, intimidating people, you know, up to an extent of them having a coordinated attack on our desks, you know, which of course you are yet to ask about.
Yeah.
You know, we have got facts and we've got dockets. If our people were intimidating people, why didn't they report to police? I have not received any case right now.
According to them, the police are also afraid of us.
No, as far as we are concerned, there is no one who is above the law. FAZ is a legal persona. It's a registered entity that can sue and be sued. You see, so people have got every right to approach the police and take the matter to court. Those are just lies that the police are afraid of FAZ. Police can open a docket for anyone. You see, so that actually shows you that that is just a creation. There is nothing like that. Because opening a docket doesn't really require anybody to be maybe in a certain mode. It's just opening a docket. Whatever happens thereafter is something else. But there is nothing, because these are just lies that are meant to tarnish FAZ's image. These are also creations that are meant to give credence to the opposition, because they don't have anything to say. So the point now is FAZ. So there is nothing like that. There's no intimidation. People are moving with a very, very good message, and that's what they moved with. I haven't even seen one who would say they came to my house, they knocked, they intimidated me. No. That's a lie.
Let's come to the other strategy which you talked about, which was of the distribution of presidential inputs. Who was benefiting from those inputs?
Who benefits from the inputs really does not lie on FAZ.
Okay.
FAZ is just there to make sure that people who are gathered receive. But you know, what I know and as a politician is that when you're distributing inputs, you want to give as many as you can. You want to give everyone, because you are trying to lure people to come and vote for you. So whether it's the opposition, whether it's the ZANU PF, you don't mind. You give people. I distributed in my constituents, I distributed to more than 14,000 people, you know, the food that I sourced for myself, to more than 14,000 people, but I got 10,000 votes. You see? So you distribute to whoever comes. So the distribution was general distribution, but FAZ would just be there to make sure that it's done in good faith.
As an affiliate of ZANU PF, have you ever sold that message to the politicians within that party, within ZANU PF, that when you are also giving input, you should give to everyone, so that to a certain extent you lose those that do not support you, because already anenge want something. But no, ndapiwa ina kuda, for example, kuda andipa zvakatika zvina ndumvoteri pane kuti inini Robert ndini member yeparty yako, wotanga kupa inini a converted already. Panze pekuti undinyengetedze nekundipa zviripo. Do you preach that message? Because to a certain extent as well, we have had information which is factual from the media side, where opposition supporters do not benefit from their presidential inputs schemes.
Opposition politicians, ZANU PF politicians, are very seasoned politicians. They are very mature politicians. And believe
but we've seen a lot of young, like you coming there.
Yes, believe you me, they don't really need us to preach that one. They know very well, and they have been doing that very well. Perhaps if there are those who are doing it, perhaps they emanate from structures who are not a direct beneficiary of an X. perhaps those might do that to you. It's very common. We have also seen it even with some NGOs where they segregate. They say, no, we only want to give opposition people, you know. But when it comes to somebody who wants to vote, especially ZANU PF MPs, all of them, I'll tell you, there is no one who would say, I want ZANU PF people only. They've been giving everyone. We don't even need to preach that. It's a common practice. They know that very well. And they did that excellently well.
Let's come on the voting day.
Yes.
What were your duties, your responsibility within?
As on the voting roll, as it has been throughout the campaign, our responsibility was to make sure that ZANU PF win the election. That's what we were there for. So what we basically did as FAZ, we looked at strategies, especially that those ones that happen across the world. And we were enticed by one strategy that has been used by so many countries, including South Africa, including even Angola, even Zambia used it, and Norway, etc., Denmark, they've used it. That is one of setting desks, you know, around polling stations. But what we then did, we then went to consult with the ZEC as to what the law would say about that and the distances. And the ZEC said, as long as you are 300 meters away from our polling station, we have no problem with that. We also asked the legal practitioner who said, no, the law allows you to set those desks 300 meters away. We did set those desks with the aim of, within those desks, we had voters' roll, which was availed, by the way, to every candidate who participated. Even a councillor was given. Ruling or opposition, everyone had. So we had our voters' roll, you know, where we would check the names of those who are coming to vote and strike them against our voters' roll, with the idea of getting a pre-assessment of the results, you know, coming up with our own assessment as to how this election would possibly swing to. That's what we did. Some, maybe after voting, they would then pass through that desk and indicate that we have voted. So this is the standard practice that is done world over. So we did that as FAZ. Noting also that in Zimbabwe, within those 300 meters, political parties, you would find them gathered in their groups, you know, trying to lure votes.
The last
minute voters. They've been doing that. But the only difference now is that we had to be a bit professional and set up a desk. You know, that's what we did. So those who would come, they were not forced to visit our desk. Mostly it's those who are within our cell structures who would come. Some within our cell structures, they would even just pass. They say, no, I'm not interested. We didn't have a problem with that. So we would record those who would have come. So that was our duty on the voting day. But unfortunately, we don't know what CCC thought of this desk. So they then did a coordinated attacks on our desks nationwide. They went around molesting our people within our desks, attacking them with the axes, with the machetes, with the stones. And sadly, they even recorded videos doing that, which was illegal to do, you see. But as far as, you know, one would ask, don't we have enough manpower to respond, you know? But we said, no, it's not an eye for an eye. Let's maintain peace. We asked our people to stand down. Because I realized that the violence was too much across the country. By 11 a.m., I called all the stations and asked them to remove the desk, just, you know, for the sake of peace. But you see now, you realize that that is the violence that we're talking about coming from CCC on voting day, wanting to discredit, you know, the elections. But we stood down as far as and say, no, after all, ZANU PF is still going to win. These desks are not going to change anything.
But to them, they were not, according to them, the party that you are mentioning, the desk were not 300 meters away from the polling station. They were so much close to the booth or to the tents in such a way that it intimidated voters?
No, that's a complete lie. We have, from all the reports that we got, even the complaints of CCC, I haven't heard a complaint that says the table were closed. And even the police reports, because the police, some of them, they would actually fail to measure 300, and then the police would tell them, no, actually go 400 meters, some even 500 meters, far away from the polling stations. So that's actually a creation. That's a lie, that they were very close to the polling station. No. And we know, according to law, we would not do that. Our instruction was very clear. The desk has to be far. And why would one be intimidated by a mere desk? That's number one. Number two, why would, because you know what, when we are recruiting FAZ volunteers, we are not taking people from Harare to be volunteers in Buera. We are not taking people from Bulawayo to be volunteers in Gwanda, by the way. Our volunteers are made up of people who come from that community, from that locality. Our volunteers are made up of their children, their sons, their friends, their brothers within that community. So why would they be intimidated by seeing you on the 14th day when they have been seeing you around, when they have been playing soccer with you? So where is the intimidation coming
Probably,
from?
as I mentioned, when they were doing door-to-door campaigns, they were also intimidating.
No, but why would you? No, but why would you be intimidated by somebody? If we were saying our volunteers were, clothed in an army regalia, or in a police, and they go door to door, perhaps you don't know them. But you have got your own people, you have got your own brothers. Why would they intimidate when they come to your house? You know them, you know where they stay. So there was no intimidation, it's just a creation.
Okay, but would you not think probably there might be one or two members of FAZ that went over bounds beyond the mandate or the message that they were supposed to preaching, and to a certain extent intimidate the voters? One or two.
I wouldn't say yes. Why? Because I haven't heard even from our teams around the country that we had such behaviors from our people. I wouldn't really want to, because if we had one like that, I would tell you we would have even excused them from the entire campaign period. But we never had any. But what you also need to notice is that because FAZ people only have an ID for identity, which they rarely take out. So they don't have regalia or uniform to identify them, you see. So in many instances, we have seen certain rogue elements that then pretend to be FAZ. You see, we have seen people doing certain mischievous and say, FAZ, FAZ, FAZ. At one point, I saw some motorbikes, which we don't have motorbikes. And I saw motorbikes said, these are motorbikes for FAZ. We have caught FAZ people intimidating. We don't have motorbikes. I was wondering where those motorbikes are coming from. And I was also asked by SABC that there was a voice note that was circulating. The person is pretended to be a FAZ member. I said, no, what barometer would you use to measure whether this person is FAZ? You can also record an audio and circulate it and say FAZ, because now FAZ is everyone's scapegoat. So anyone can do that and pretend to be FAZ. So we have seen these instances where people are even impersonating FAZ in so many instances. And then FAZ, you would know that when CCC tried to do their press conference, law and order police went there and they stormed, in the to protect the law. And then within that particular grouping, they were already acclimatizing. FAZ, 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 here we are, FAZ, here we are. Who told you it's FAZ? These are police officers executing their duties. Already you are saying FAZ. Where did you see it written? It's FAZ. So we've realized that everything that happens, scapegoat, it's FAZ.
But why is it coming like that? Why is it now everything that is bad, political is associated with the organization?
Yeah. It's because, whenever you do good, the bad will also attract. It's because we've been doing good. It's because we have also perhaps contributed something within the political terrain of Zimbabwe that has never been done. So credit to us. So because of that, you always hear FAZ, FAZ, FAZ. Because if we are not making noise, then we are not doing anything. So now people have found, last election, I'm sure there was something which they always ran with. So in this election, they found FAZ. So it's now about FAZ. Even when there's no FAZ involved, it's now FAZ.
So on the election day, did you have desks throughout the country, or predominantly it was in the rural areas?
Throughout the country. The setting of desk was done throughout the country. Yeah, in other areas, there was no violent. In other areas, there was no violent. I think Triple C MP in those areas were very mature to understand that there is no harm from desk. I was told they continued and finished their day peacefully. And in another area in Manikaland, a Triple C guy actually went next to ZANU PF desk and then set up his desk. The MP put up his people and put a Triple C cloth on top. And they they coexisted harmoniously, magnificently throughout the day. And there was no violence. So what are we saying? We are saying that should have happened. You know, as far as we came up with the new idea, you know, Triple C would have also copied like what their colleague, their MP did, you know. So for the sake of peace, because there was no intimidation, it's just a poll survey.
Yeah. So let's go on the poll survey, you know, which you said also it's new, you've copied it from other countries. Yeah. For the benefit of the voters and for the benefit of those that did not understand the reason why that desk was, can you explain the reason why FAZ in depth decided then to have a desk on that day where voters would pass through, you know, after casting their votes?
Yeah, like I said, it's a standard practice. The reason why we wanted, that's why we actually had a voters room. We wanted to be able to assess, you know, in other polling stations where we continued, I could tell our margin of error was plus or minus 10% in other polling stations where we didn't remove our desk. We wanted to be able to assess the likely outcome of the results before they were even announced. I can tell you in another polling station, we knew that we had won or we had lost.
So on that desk, one would say, I voted for ZANU PF, I voted for Triple C.
That's why I said the percentage, there's the margin of error. The understanding is that when you come, you are coming upon the understanding that you are going to a ZANU PF desk. Okay. You see, you are a ZANU PF supporter. You have came as we have been preaching prior to that, vote for ZANU PF, and they agreed. So you came and said, guys, what you've been discussing, I'm here. This is my name. I'm going to vote for ZANU PF. That's what. But not everyone would then come on your desk. And not everyone would come would then vote for you. That's why we put a 10% minus or plus margin of error. But it gives us a clear indication of the likely outcome of the election.
But in your report, do you have someone who passed through your desk and said, I voted for the opposition? Not particularly Triple C, which was obviously dominant, but I've just voted for an opposition.
No one would do that. No one would say that. Because, of course, you know, one's vote, they'll always say it's a secret. So we are not pretty much worried about interrogating somebody as to where you voted for. Okay. But your coming to us, your courtesy is enough for us to be able to make our own predictions based on your visit.
So after the votes have been counted at a polling station, what then would FAZ do from there? No,
FAZ would not do anything. We had ZANU PF had agents. We didn't have any agent as FAZ. ZANU PF had agents. We were helping them to collect results. Whenever the results, the V11s were posted, those agents, ZANU PF agents, would then send them to ZANU PF HQ for collecting of results. FAZ had pretty much nothing to do with the after the voting. We were pretty much concerned with the mobilization, making sure that the people vote. So what we call a go get the voter campaign.
During the last days of the campaign, one opposition party leader described FAZ as a terrorist organization, as a mafia organization. How do you respond to that?
That's quite unfortunate and too hard for an opposition. The words should have been used to describe Pachelo. Those words should have been used to describe ERC. Those are terrorist organizations. FAZ is an innocent organization that just countered the terrorists. Those are terrorists coming here to terrorize our people. Those are terrorists coming here to push for regime change. Those what we call terrorists. FAZ is not a terrorist. He actually abused the term mafia. He actually abused the term terrorist. We never had guns. We don't know what a gun looks like. We are not mafia. We never terrorized anyone. So that was an abuse of terminology.
So why then would you say Pachedu and ERC are terrorist organizations? Do they have guns?
They probably have, because the way they were operating in a terrorist manner. Their strategies are strategies of terrorists coming to terrorize this country. We actually don't know who was backing them, who was behind them, what ammunition they have. We don't know what their strategies, even up to now, are. You see, so these ones which were arrested are the front runners, but they are the masters behind who are armed. So those are terrorists, and their agenda is well known: to topple, to bring regime change, to topple the legitimate elected government, not FAZ.
Okay. After the elections ended and the observers' missions were giving their reports, as you know now, SADC, AU, EU, Carter Center, they also mentioned FAZ,
yes.
You know, your involvement in the elections, but not in a positive way, in a very, very negative way.
Yeah, you know, it doesn't surprise us at all, because those reports did not really come from them. We knew those reports would actually look like that actually way in advance, because those reports came from Western embassies, they came from CCC. They take, for example, SADC, they never wrote that report. They never, for example, SADC never called us to have a discussion. How then did they arrive at that conclusion about FAZ? When they just arrived in the country, they just arrived in the country
and observed.
They don't even know who FAZ is, how many days were there. They don't even know who FAZ is. They never invited us. You know, European Union actually called us. You know, European Union had to call us for an interview. You see, African Union did. You see, they understood what we're up to. As a result, African Union never mentioned that. But SADC, you know, we know the Mumba mission. It has been put clearly now for everyone to know what was his mission. So it was not even surprising that even they would not even look for FAZ, because they preconceived idea or a conclusion towards everything in terms of their report. So their report was there just to tarnish Zimbabwe. So it's not surprising that they would put those sentiments about FAZ.
But probably it's not your question particularly, but I would want to know why then would SADC now, you know, have a mission, you know, against Zimbabwe to produce such a report all of a sudden, but for all these years, and Zimbabwe being also a member of that.
Yeah, of course, it's not my question, but in passing, I would tell you that if you understand the geopolitics and understand how America is trying to force regime change, you'd understand what happened across the border in Zambia, and you'd also understand who is leading the organ on defense and politics in Africa, and you'd also understand who sent Mumba as the head of delegation, even if he had the issues pending on his side, even if he was not worthy to be the chairman. You would know, if when you put all that together, you will simply understand why that report was like that. It's not a unanimous SADC report. Yeah.
So, okay, let's focus on the report and focusing on what they said about FAZ. Do they at one point, you know, picked one or two issues that as an organization, then you sit down and said, oh, yeah, they are right here, no, they are wrong here?
No, they just generalized and they said a shadow group FAZ was intimidating people. They just generalized. They never even gave us specifics. You see, that's why we are saying it's a shame to have such a report. They never gave us to say, we as SADC, we went there, we even recorded, we even, you know, we have got evidence that FAZ was intimidating. They don't have that. They just generalize and say FAZ was intimidating people, you know. Perhaps we actually, they were also pointing to those desks, and then one questions if surely Mumba was an experienced observer, if he doesn't know that desk is the standard practice across Africa, you know. Because if he was experienced as he claimed to be, he would actually know that desks do not intimidate people. It's a standard practice. So that's where they were pointing to.
Okay, minus the SADC report, let's look at the Carter Center and the European Union. They mentioned FAZ, but as they are saying, their experienced observers, they've also seen it happening in their own country. Why then would they mention it in a negative way?
I don't know. Unfortunately, I didn't read the European report specifically where they mentioned about FAZ, and I bet they might not have mentioned really about desks. But one actually, this is actually in a broader picture. You know, when Europe host or do their elections, I've never heard African Union going to observe. Maybe you've heard. I've never heard SADC being invited. Why are they so much interested in coming to observe ours? Is it that because Africans, we don't think we cannot do our own
Probably
things?
the question could be, why would us as Zimbabweans invite them? Because as far as I know, they are invited. They don't get crushed.
It's the interest that they always put. It is the interest they apply to be observers. We, for example, as FAZ, I wrote an application. We had 101 observers across the country as FAZ. I applied to ZEC. They applied. You applied to be an observer.
So the question is, why do we accept their invitation and invite them?
No. We are, as Zimbabwe, we don't want to create an environment where we appear as if we want to rig or etc. We accept and appreciate anyone who comes. But the question is, why do they deny, Africans to observe their elections as well? That leaves a lot to be desired. Yeah, it means they are rating for Africans as something else. This is what we are trying to fight, as Africans.
So if given a chance, would you accept an invitation from opposition political parties to come and tell them what FAZ is exactly in a very open and friendly environment? As FAZ, in as much as you are associated with the ZANU PF, we are talking about Zimbabweans. Yes. We can't be always be fighting. 100%. We can't, we may differ on how to take Zimbabwe forward on ideas. But would you be in a position to sit on the same table and say, look, we are not as you describe us. This is who we are. So that to a certain extent they can have an understanding of what FAZ is.
Do you know what this interview actually does? You are on social media, very dominant on social media with all your 263, your Zim-I, site, you are very dominant on social media. And most, if not 80% of your followers are opposition people who don't vote, by the way, most of them. They are opposition people.
It's a debate for another day.
Those are opposition people. And me agreeing to this interview is a clear testimony that I'm speaking to opposition. I'm speaking to opposition. So we are agreeable because we have nothing to hide. Even if their members now, their top opposition guys invite me for a meeting to say we wanted to understand, I will gladly attend and speak to them because we are not at war. We are now there to build the nation. We are not fighting. As a result, right now, like I told you, FAZ is now taking a different road altogether. We are now going economic. We are not going into the business to utilize business opportunities. So we engage everyone, even the opposition we will. So in this instance, yes, to answer your question by the method, yes, we will sit down with the opposition.
But on a lighter note, how do you know that most of our followers are opposition party supporters?
It's not a secret that opposition dominates on social media. That's there's certain things that you have to agree. If we were to say, let's have elections on social media, we will not even have one MP. We will be thrashed because the opposition stronghold is on social media. Sadly, most of those are outside the country.
But I think it's a myth. But I would want to tell you for a fact that ZANU PF members, political party leaders, it will be very difficult to invite them and speak to the people on social media. I want to tell you for a fact.
You say it's very difficult to invite them?
Yeah, and agree.
Yes.
To come and speak to platforms like us.
Yes, because they know they are speaking to the wrong audience.
But it's the wrong audience that you want to look for the sense that they can vote for you.
For FAZ, we call it, according to our strategy, we call it a right audience. But for those that you are describing, they may not see it that way. But you should teach
them, my brother. This is the way to go. In as much as they would, from your judgment, that the opposition supporters you know, are mostly on social media. Come to the social media and preach to them the good things that the party is doing so that they can say, no, we are lost.
Do you know what I would also say about that? Just now before you walked in, I was just reading a certain screenshot of a tweet that was sent to me by one cadre, you know, and as I was reading it, I was saying, where is the spirit of Ubuntu Unwedu? Where is it gone to? When people are speaking all form of vulgar on the president's Twitter handle, you see, that's why these people, because when people are there on social media, they lose Ubuntu, you know, they speak all ills, they speak all rubbish, despicable words against elders, regardless of the party, which one can, even elders and elder, you know, they speak rubbish. So that's why until we teach also our people, you know, our people in social media to know the language to use, you'll never find, you know, politicians who would want to come. Some of us,
but also,
my
brother, I'm happy you are also a politician.
Yes.
The language that comes from the politicians,
Yes.
you know, wherever they are talking about, which end up being on social media, is not constructive. It's not the kind of language, to a certain extent, that you should also expect from a leader. Because obviously you may speak as one, but it would discard to.
But yes, the president spoken anything.
No, I'm not. I said politicians. Yes. I don't want to generalize.
He's also a politician.
Yeah. It is the message that comes from the politicians. Yes. That's cascade to their followers. Yes. Then it goes viral on social media. One needs to, you know, the moment as politicians, you get an opportunity to speak to the audience, speak in a way that people would not find. You know what things that goes viral, you are also on social media, is the 10 seconds. Not the, you may spend the whole day or 1 hour speaking, but it's the 10 seconds where you said something which is not, you know, constructive.
Yeah, but it's quite unfortunate that perhaps you are generalizing what politicians would say, but I haven't heard any politician who would want votes and they speak despicable words and utter nonsense across any constituency. But what we have seen on Twitter is quite embarrassing. You know, it's also an advantage that normally they say it in vernacular. Otherwise, it will actually embarrass us internationally, because the words that I just saw on social media on the president's handle, you know, regardless of what politicians would do or say to against each other in the field there, those words do not have room for any cultured society like Zimbabwe. People need to learn to respect. When they learn to respect, they will see politicians who come across and they speak to them.
How do FAZs get funded?
We basically have a number of well-wishers that come in here and there to assist us. We are also having some small projects running that we use to fundraise. But as we are taking a new dimension now, because you know what you also need to realize that some of the well-wishers have been assisting us because of our political line, because we want the ZANU PF to win. That's why they've been coming to assist us. But now they won't be assisting us because the elections are over. So that's why now we are cultivating the economic side to make sure that FAZ is self-sustainable, so that we don't rely on hands out.
As a youthful organization and as a young politician as well, do you think it will come at a point where Zimbabweans will discuss politics, as brothers and sisters, for the benefit of Zimbabwe? You know, as I said earlier on, you may differ on how to take Zimbabwe forward, but what you want is also for the best of Zimbabweans. Do you think we will have a time where, you know, we can have a constructive debate, or maybe probably you and the guy that you're contesting with in Binga address the same audience at the same rally, selling the ideas that can lure voters to vote for you?
I long for that moment, by the way. I long for it. It's discussions that we have had in the past to say, if we say now we are mature Zimbabweans, we should get to that point where we can even discuss, and that also cascade into the voters, where they choose somebody based on merit, perhaps not on a political party. You know, I'll give you instances. For example, I'll give you the Mavuku Tafara constituency. I'll give you quickly the Norton. I'll also give you the Count Park and my constituency. For example, you know, you then wonder, you know, how Scott, with everything that he has done, lost. You know, you wonder how Mtuli with all the potential. Mtuli is still going to be in government, whether Count Park people like it or not, is still going to be in government. And it would have worked better for them, you know, to utilize that than perhaps the gentlemen which they have chosen, you see. The same applies to my constituency. If you go to my constituency, everyone will tell you that we've never seen this amount of development coming to Binga ever since our emerging. The president has came handy to assist the Binga. We've been doing wonders, and one would see Binga going to Canaan if I was elected an MP. Then you wonder how our people are on the ground. So we would want that level of maturity where people, when they are selecting, perhaps they select based on merit, and where brother and the sister from opposition can laugh together, wife and husband, you know, belonging to different parties, you know, laugh together and see nothing wrong. And to get to an extent, by the way, when I was in Denmark, when they were having elections, do you know that you can take my ID and go and vote on my behalf? You see, you can vote on my behalf using my ID. You see, that is the level that I wish Zimbabwe can get up to. But find above all, we need brotherhood. Yeah, we are one people.
But still on that, we have seen where, you know, aspiring politicians denied the chance to develop their community or their constituents by the other side of the political parties. Who are you destroying? So, for example, one wants to drill a bore, then the youth come and say, not on this place. And yet at the end of the day, it is them within that community who benefit. And probably most of these politicians that we vote for, they don't stay in our community. They stay far away.
But what one needs to understand and appreciate is that an MP has too much power in his constituency. No one has the power to stop an MP in his constituency.
No, the aspiring ones.
When we speak about the aspiring ones, of course, I'm not too sure where those instances happen, but of course we condone such because we want development. At the end of the day, you know, a campaign period brings a lot of opportunities for people. It doesn't necessarily mean that a person would win, and when somebody wins, you take away his dam. It is people still enjoy those facilities that we put. So it's time for people to be able to get favors from these politicians who would come once in a while. So I don't see why people would actually block that. That's an ill-advised campaign method, which is, you know, it's primitive, so to speak, and should not be given any room in this economy.
As we conclude, how does one become a member of FAZ?
One can become a member of FAZ by visiting our FAZ website, Google FAZ Trust, .co.za, or by visiting our yet offices here where we are now at 224 Avenues here in Avondale, Harare. That's how one can be a member of FAZ.
Do you have offices within the provinces or districts for now?
For now, we haven't had offices across the country. We're operating with the head office only. But we have got members, of course, across. And
your last message to Zimbabweans is FAZ?
My last message to Zimbabwe is that thank you very much, Zimbabweans, for overwhelmingly endorsing the president of Zimbabwe. We congratulate the president for having won the elections, and we thank you very much, Zimbabweans. Now it is the time that we come together and rebuild our nation. We come together and be able to participate in the economic activities of this country. As the president has always said, make money, itai. This is the time to put our political differences aside and focus on nation building. Till 2028, perhaps that's where we are going to start politics, but now it's economics, business and business. Thank you so much.
Thank you. There you heard it from Kuda. We are talking about what FAZ is. As you know, the organization has been featuring dominantly just before or during and after the election. So we said, no, let's have the members from that organization to demystify some of the myths that you may have heard about FAZ. And obviously here and there, during the course of the interview, we may have diverted and discussed about other political issues, and he has also given his opinion, but mainly the idea behind today was to talk about FAZ. We know we may not have asked some of the questions that you want, we may not have asked some of the issues or skipped them because of time, but he is here. You can also post some of those questions on the comment section, and you will definitely direct them to the FAZ boss. And at Sly Media, we say building bridges. For now, bye-bye.